Today I'm laying subfloor. When it's done, it's going to be rock solid, nice and sturdy, and really flat. My name's Deric. This is my wife Jenya. We bought a fixer-upper. We're remodeling this house one day at a time, all while living in it. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to get all the latest videos to track our progress. You'll find lots of how-to videos with step-by-step instructions to help you with your next do-it-yourself project. Welcome to the Rundown Reborn channel. Alright, I'm ready to get started on this subfloor. The first thing I've got to do is prepare where I'm going to connect to this existing subfloor I've already put down. One thing I've got to do is there's a tongue exposed right here. That's part of the decking interlocking system. I need to trim that tongue off and get that ready for a butt joint, which is basically a joint where the flat meets the flat. I'm going to start with a half sheet and bring that out and then continue across. So to begin, let's go ahead and cut this tongue off. I'm going to use my little handheld saw here and just cut right along the edge. I couldn't get all the way to this corners. I'm going to use a hammer and chisel to knock out the last bit. Alright, that tongue's up. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. I want that to be nice and clean so we can get a nice tight joint. I've got some plastic here and I'm going to lay this out across these sleepers. The reason I'm using this is there's basement and crawl space underneath this floor. There's a lot of draft, there's a lot of must, as well as maybe critters that might come up through the cracks. So I'm going to lay this down and try to keep as much of that at bay as I can. We're going to unwrap this. And with my staple gun here, 5/16 inch staples, I'm going to tack this over these sleepers. I'm not going to stretch it too tight. I just want it there as a barrier. Alright, there I've got one edge down. I'm just going to start working my way across the floor. Let it sag in between the sleepers so it doesn't tear. And just tack that down as I go. The staples are really just there to hold it in place until I get the floor on. Alright, the plastic's in place. Now we need to go ahead and get our tongue and groove floor in place. Here I have some tongue and groove decking. A tongue is basically this edge across the top. The groove would be on the other edge of the board, and when you put these down on the floor, they'll interlock and create a tight joint and prevent any edging from lifting and creating an uneven edge. So I'm going to start with a half sheet. I'm going to notch out what I need to fit in this doorway up against the existing floor, and then we'll continue with a full sheet after that. Then my next row I'll start with a full sheet so they get staggered horizontal joints between them. You want this because you don't want four corners coming together in the same spot. You want to allow that tongue and groove to hold corners down so you don't get lift or warp, and it will stay nice and straight and interlocked. Alright, I have my first sheet here. Here's my groove, my tongue's on the other side. I've already pre-cut the sheet in half. On the top is a factory edge. This is a perfectly square edge. I want that to be the joint for my next sheet. And I'm going to put the groove on the interlock side. I'm going to lay this down So the factory edge is towards my next sheet, and the groove is towards where I'm continuing on the floor. I've laid this down in place, and this seam here is going to be right on the center of this sleeper. This sleeper will support both pieces of decking. I'm going to try to get it up against the wall on this side, nice and tight, up against the studs, and then I need to work out a notch here. So I'm going to have to put a cut in and then enough depth to have this slide over against this deck. I've got my speed square here. I'm going to go ahead and mark where that opening is. Now I need to determine how deep the cut to make. It appears about 4.5 inches. So I'm going to go just slightly over that, about 4 5/8. Now I'm going to square that across with my T-square. The marks are made. Just need to cut that out with a jigsaw. Alright, now that the piece is cut, I'm just going to go ahead and try to set that in place. The joint I'm most concerned about is the one tying into the existing floor. Around the perimeter next to the wall, it's going to get covered up by trim, by drywall, and other things, so that gap's going to close eventually. Where I do want nice smooth transition between the floors. Along the edge, it appears to be nice and straight along with that sleeper right in the middle, which is exactly where I want it. Now it's time to just screw it down. I've got a few long screws, about 2.5 inches, and I've got some short screws, which are 1 3/4. Most of the screws, all I need to do is tie it into the sleepers here. I'm going to use a few long screws just in a couple of spots, especially here next to this floor, to try to really anchor that in. The last place I want it to lift is in a door opening. This first screw, I'm trying to put it right where my sleeper is and where there's a joist down below. Great. If you miss it, you'll feel it. It'll just let go and start spinning. I'm going to put another anchor screw over here on this side. Now I'm going to go ahead and screw off the edge here at the seam. I'm not going to screw off the outer edges as I still have other sheets of deck to come up against it. So I want to leave that a little bit flexible so I can get those interlocked. My square here to try to find where these sleepers are at this other end. I'll go ahead and infill the panel, again using my square here to find where the sleeper is. I put them about every 12 inches on center. It's not a structural floor, I just want it to hold down and not move. You do want these screws nice and flush. If they're not down low, then your flooring is not going to be tight to the floor. If they don't go down flush, just pull them out and try again. There. My next sheet's going to go right up tight to this sheet, and it's going to go to the full length, 8 feet of that sheet. Once that's down, we'll put in the last piece, which will be a trim off of this sheet that I cut earlier. The next sheet we'll do right adjacent. We'll notch for this doorway and go full 8 feet with that one, and then use another full sheet and cut off the end to fit. It's done, it's down. It's not that it's difficult, it's just really tiring. These decking sheets are thick and they're heavy. They're just hard to maneuver on your own, but it's down. It came together pretty good. Hey buddy, did you come in to check us out? Well,
yeah, we don't have a rotten floor, we have a fixed floor.
We do. We
still have to wear shoes.
We do have to wear shoes in the house, don't we?
Still.
Lots of splinters. So when you're living on this stuff, you gotta wear shoes, don't you?
Watch out the sawdust. Watch out for the sawdust.
And watch out for the sawdust.
Okay.
Well, I think I'm all done.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sweep up and wrap it up. You ready to go bowling? All right, let's go bowling.